Hey everyone, I am Melanie from Streamline Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Tonight we are talking about that practice management software. Specifically, we're talking about Clio. And I'm going to head over to the screen here because I'm guessing that there are a lot of you out there that have Clio screens that look a little something like this. You'll see here at the top, I've got this Matter, and in the Matter, I've got the client's name, of course, but then in the Matter name, it's very descriptive, talking about the car crash that happened on Route 40 or 34 and how he has a broken collarbone and broken eye socket and staph infection and detail after detail after detail. And it wanted to talk tonight about how that information gets in there and what we can do to maybe control that. Because the reality is this Matter description shows up in a lot of different places in Clio Manage. And you may not want to add that type of detail everywhere where we're going to see this. So for example, this will show up on a bill if you're doing hourly billing. This will show up anytime we put in a time entry. So there's a lot of times that I think we maybe don't need this level of detail, and maybe just saying a car crash is sufficient, of a vehicle injury, whatever we want to call it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that much level of detail. So how did this happen? How does this happen very frequently, frankly? And it all starts with Clio Grow. So I'm going to hop over on my screen to Clio Grow here, and we'll see how this Matter description turns into this, as opposed to, a car crash or something like that. If you click on Clio Grow, you'll see a lot of times we want to enter people into Clio Grow by clicking on this quick intake up here. So I click on the quick intake, I start filling out the information, and we'll have here today, we're going to have Charlie Brown, who's going to be our victim. And we'll fill out all the information that we need to in order to collect from Charlie. And then you'll see this nice appealing description box. And this is where we'll start typing in some of the details of the crash. So we might say, he's a 16-year-old and he suffered from a broken arm after a head-on collision on the night of his prom. Okay, and then we go on to say he was a passenger, his cousin was the driver, and what other detail can we add in here? And they were 30 over the speed limit. Okay, and this can go on and on, because if you're comfortable filling out this form while you're on the phone with the client, you're probably getting all kinds of detail from them, and that's a real nice, easy place to put it. The problem is that once we collect that information and we create a Matter, and it takes us to our Matter, here's that description that we just put in with all of that detail. And then when we go to eventually export this Matter to Clio Manage, because now they've hired us and want to move forward, we click on that button, I fill out my contingency rate, let's say, and I'm going to export the Matter. And after a moment, it will show up in Clio Manage, and I'm going to click on that, Clio Manage. But notice that description field now became the description of my Matter, and you can see that right up here at the top. And in fact, if we go over to our list of matters, now you can see that now we're populating this section of Matter description with a lot of details. And so the reality is that that box is really not a great place to put that level of detail. And instead, I'd like to offer you an alternative. If I am in Clio Grow and I'm filling out a quick intake, and this time we'll do it for Nancy Drew, and I'm filling this out, I'm going to come down here. The description, again, is not the best place to put that. In fact, at the very beginning, I would probably leave that blank because we might not have the detail to know what kind of case it is. Instead, I'm going to click here on Add a Matter Note. It's not very obvious. It can be quite hidden. But if you click on this, that's where I want you to put that level of detail. And I'm going to put in here that this is a 40-year-old mom that was crossing the street and was hit by a bus. Driver was over the legal limit. And we can add our detail right in there. And when I do that, and now I create the matter, now you'll notice that that's in a note now. And that level of detail should be in a note. I don't have anything in my description yet, and that's okay. Because what happens is now when I go to export that matter over to Clio Manage, I'm going to put in whatever detail. It is going to require a matter description, and I can say pedestrian, I should spell it right though, pedestrian in crosswalk, let's say, or whatever your naming convention is. But that's where I can put the matter description and when I can put it in so that it shows up in Clio Manage. And so again, I'm going to put in my rate, I'm going to export that matter. And now when it shows up in Clio Manage, we'll see that in fact, the description is what I put at the end, pedestrian and crosswalk, right? And then the note that I put in there is now going to transfer over to the notes. And in my mind, that's a much more appropriate place to put that level of detail. Because now when I'm creating a time entry or when I'm sending out a bill or many number of things that I'm doing within Clio Manage, it's not giving me that level of detail every time. So if your list of matters is showing up with a lot of detail in that matter description, that's probably why. And so again, the quick fix to that is whenever you're doing a quick intake, make sure you're not putting all that level of detail in the description, but rather we're clicking to add a matter note. And we're adding that level of detail right there in the note so that it can transfer along with us. And we can name the matter something a lot more general that's going to be a much better description of what type of case it is. So I hope that helps you guys tonight. I hope that your matter descriptions are not out of control and that now with that information, you can go ahead and clean them up. And again, it's a much better system to keep that level of detail, which we do want and we do need in a note where it belongs. Thanks for joining me tonight. Have a great evening.